Hey, folks, welcome back. Welcome back to the show. We are happy, ecstatic over the verdict of not guilty for Kelsey Fitzsimmons. And now we are going to see what she said to the world after the acquittal. So hit the thumbs up and welcome to the show. All right, folks. Uh, were several news outlets out there. I think this one had the best audio because we all know the court audio sucked. So, without further ado, let's go.
Way to go, girl! Congratulations!
Good afternoon, everybody. It was just another day at the office today. Just want to say that we want to thank so many people. We want to thank Kelsey and her family for having faith in us. We, meaning Martha and I, want to thank so many people that Kelsey and her family had faith in us. And, we had a very tough playing field for a long time. And we also want to thank Judge Karp, who did a great job and was a gentleman and treated us fairly and with justice. And that's all we ever asked for. And we finally got it. So we're relieved. And but other than thanking everybody, I just want to hand it over to Martha, and she's going to have some words for everybody first.
Yeah. So thanks, Tim. This is not only the right result, it's a righteous result today. It's been a long odyssey for those of you who followed this. And we started off in this case, understanding, as we all do, and as the judge said, policing is a tough job. Being a mom is a tough job. And on June 30th, Kelsey had to do both. She's trying to be a mom. She's trying to get back to work. And then her world fell apart. And unfortunately, on that day, as she said to the judge, and you heard in court, she had to deal with all that. And unfortunately, what happened in that bedroom started a chain of events with a narrative that they never diverged from. They never asked her about it. They rushed to judgment. And that case took on a life of its own, which unfortunately interfered with her life for an unnecessary and difficult time. I think Tim and I have known from the beginning that that wasn't fair, that the charges probably weren't fair, and that we were going to deal with the system, and we were going to take this to trial. And as Kelsey has said, without fail, she just wanted the truth to come out. She was able to do that when she testified in this case. And again, we're grateful for the judge's work. We're happy with this decision. And it's the right decision, as we said. She was always innocent until proven guilty. The Commonwealth did not meet their burden of proof, and she is innocent today.
Kelsey, what was it like to hear that word, not guilty? To hear the judge say not guilty this afternoon. You sat there, you were on the stand yesterday telling your story. Share with us what that was like.
So, I got shot. I went to jail for 103 days. I haven't seen my son. I had to sell my home that I worked very hard for. So this is my first breath of fresh air, and I feel like I can breathe again. However, my fight is not over. I have a son that I need to reunite with, and that's where we are right now.
That was my next question. What's next for you, and how this verdict might alter your life?
I won't get into that, but I will say I am really excited to see my son again.
Do you have any plans to hire a personal injury for your having a personal injury for your representation?
I will also not get into that, but
Yeah, today we're celebrating this verdict.
yeah,
And that's
I'm
what we're
focusing
focused
on today.
One day at a time.
And I also would just like to thank everybody who stood outside each and every day, supported me, believed me before I got to tell my story, because it wasn't 9 months later until I got to tell the truth. And that was a long 9 months. And through those 9 months, you guys knew the truth. You guys believed in me, and thank you for that.
Kelsey, what's the message? Kelsey, what's the message to others that are in a position like yours after what happened today with the not guilty verdict? What would you tell other people?
Don't stop fighting for what's right. And when you know you didn't do something wrong, keep fighting for that.
Kelsey, do you know how you really felt pregnant?
I won't comment on that either. I don't know what my career goals are at the moment.
What has the last 9 months been like for you as a person, as a mother, as a defendant?
There is not a word. If you want an image of it, picture me on a mat in a jail cell crying for my son day after day after day after day. That's the only, there's not a word for that. But that is what happened to me.
Kelsey, do you feel like you're owed something now, considering that you've been found not guilty? All of this stuff has happened to you.
I'll leave that one to you.
Leave that one to the lawyers, sir.
Hey, Kelsey, the judge was not exactly speedy in getting to the ultimate decision. How painful was that to sit there and hear this?
What? That's a stupid. This was an extremely fast verdict. Why do these media outlets send people that has no idea how trials work? Now, yeah, for Kelsey, it must have been felt like ages. But for you guys, for me, this was extremely fast. Remember, yesterday, he was planning on a verdict maybe Friday morning. So I was kind of surprised that he announced that he would have his verdict today. And then, not end of day, but 2 p.m. That is extraordinarily fast. Talking about the reading of it, took his time. Yeah, okay. But he said that he would reach a verdict and he would explain his verdict. So that, if that is what this reporter meant, still not a surprise, because the judge announced it yesterday.
I mean, it's okay. He had to go through all the evidence, and it was a lot. So
We thought he was pretty quick, actually.
yeah.
And we obviously, with a good judge, didn't have the issue with the jury. He told us when he was going to decide.
that-
He knew he was going to write
Hold
his decision, which
Was that Michelle from Justice Served? No. Then he should have known better.
was helpful, and he told that in public. So we had this hybrid trial with the judge. He was both the judge and the jury, and he was forthcoming throughout
Well,
the trial, transparent, and told us he was going
if
to
it
tell
is
us why the
Justice Served.
decision, which of course we would not have done. With the
Really?
jury. So it's helpful to have that.
Kelsey, did you have this verdict in your opinion? Were you surprised the judge were brought in the first place, and why do you think they were?
So I'm just going to repeat what I said earlier to that question. A set of things got set into a motion on June 30th that then followed a narrative starting that night in that room that never really got challenged, that never really got investigated with any investigation occurred, that never got tested in any way. But the presumption was that she was a defendant in this case. And so that's unfortunate because she couldn't talk for a while. She's being held for a while. She never got a chance really to tell her story. Ordinarily, the system shouldn't work that way, but both Attorney Bradel and I have been on both sides of the system. We know how it works, and sometimes when it doesn't work well and it works slowly, that's unfortunately what happened with this case. And we fought every way with Kelsey to make sure that justice was done. It took longer than it should have, we think. It was more painful than it should have been.
Yeah, it took longer, more painful, because the prior judge, before this judge, should not even have a law degree, in my opinion. The prior judge, her conduct in this case should render a bar complaint and a removal from the bench. But also, it shows that the thin blue line is also a thin judicial line. Because the moment they filed to get her removed with evidence of the prior judge doing things that is simply not allowed, ex parte meetings, trying to get her, Kelsey's parole officer, removed because he wouldn't say to the judge that Kelsey violated her bond. That is absolutely horrendous. And then at the moment they, more or less at the moment they filed this, the chief judge in this county just swept her aside, claiming, oh, she wasn't planned for the trial, which is, in my opinion, an outright lie. That was the judiciary protecting a sitting judge from being punished, from rightfully punished for their wrongdoings. And that is why I worry about this county, regardless, because we can't. There's a police department that doesn't care about facts, and you have a judiciary that protects itself. And yeah, but this is supposed to be a happy occasion, so let's keep listening.
But look, we got the right result today, and we are happy with that.
So what's the next thing you want to do now that you're not guilty?
Guys, hold on. Let's give these guys over here a chance. Go ahead.
And we said you can read again, but there's a lot of changes that are going to take place today. You have a lot more freedom that you're not. How do you plan to start that journey of freedom?
I want to go for a walk with my dog. I can't wait to take him for a run. I haven't been able to do that. That's our thing. It's going for runs. So contribute.
And don't forget, she couldn't do that.
Right?
She had to sit in her house. That was her best case scenario, that she was a prisoner in her own home. And then her worst case scenario at the outset of this case, and like Martha said, this was such a bumpy road, a long, bumpy road that never should have happened. And, you know, she had to spend time in prison. As a former police officer and corrections officer, she gets sent to jail. Someone with no criminal record, someone who shows up to court, has a wonderful history in this county, and sent to jail. To me, it's unprecedented. It terrorized her, and it's a horrendous, awful thing that happened. This case started out as a circus, and we are so grateful to end up in Lawrence in front of Judge Karp, who, like I said, is an absolute gentleman, a consummate jurist, and he treated everyone in that room with respect, with humanity, with kindness, and we were very appreciative for it.
You have a message to your former father?
What do you make of the judge saying he credited both Kelsey's testimony and the testimony of Officer Newton, called it confusing?
Well, Charlie, you know, he's the fact finder. He's got to make the sausage in the back room. You know, he's got to think about everything, and you know, it's a tough job for any fact finder in any case, really. But I mean, you know, Kelsey has said to you guys every time we're out here, I can't wait to get to the truth. I can't wait for the truth to come out. And finally, she got her chance, and she told the truth, and she put herself out there. The one person in the whole room that didn't have to testify. She's the one that got up there, put herself out there, and told the truth. And the judge, I think, treated her wonderfully, and was very humane and kind, and listened attentively to not only her, but to everybody in the case. And we're grateful for that.
And I'll just add two things to that. First of all, people can believe they're telling the truth when they're mistaken, so they can appear to be credible but be wrong. And when a defendant like this is credible, I think as Tim said in his opening and his closing, that creates reasonable doubt. And so that's the standard. The Commonwealth always has the burden beyond the reasonable doubt. We didn't know the one thing we weren't going to get was a hung jury. So,
Joe, did you have a question? You okay?
It's not true, but it's okay.
Is that better over there?
How are you feeling?
Hey,
I feel good. I feel relieved. I was eager to do this, and
Yeah.
I said from day one, the truth will come out. And I did.
Anybody else?
Maybe if this is doubling up, but you testified that two months and the judge seemed, and even the prosecutor seemed to connect with that. It's 9 months.
It's not a word. It's not a word. It's the most devastating thing that you can do to a new mom. And hopefully changes will be made where a new mom or anyone will never have to go through something like this.
We've talked about that, and we're going to talk about that with legislators. What kind of a system is it that somebody can walk into court, fill out a piece of paper, and in 15 minutes, take someone's baby away, take a mom of a newborn baby away? It's just an incredible thing, and it shouldn't happen. And we're going to work on some reforms of that statute.
yeah. What he is talking about here is the 209A, the Massachusetts 209A, where it is allowed to make an ex parte restraining order, which is apparently you can do it in the courthouse. Just ask for it 209A, fill it out, make these ridiculous statements of facts, and without anything, no investigation, no testimony, no nothing, no scrutiny, it will be rubber stamped by a judge as true and ruin people's lives. And I heard somebody say, or saw it on X, I'm glad this doesn't happen often. But how do we know? Because this case was brought to the world due to, well, circumstances. All of a sudden, it popped out on all our feeds because it's in Massachusetts. We already had everybody looking at Massachusetts. This happened. So we don't really know how often this happens. But as Kelsey herself said, she delivered these restraining orders regularly. So it's not really a question is how often it happened. The question is how often does this happen, and also it forces police officers to do this with no investigation whatsoever. None. So we can only, as LNP says, you can assume this happens every single day, multiple times across Massachusetts. And that is worrisome. I'm sure the legislators thought of in the beginning, well, we don't want a battered woman to risk facing her abuser, which is admirable. But when you write your legislation, you have to be careful. How can it be misused? And it's obvious not only that it can be misused, that it is misused. This is probably, sadly, just one of many, many cases where a child is taken away from a parent on the word of the other parent.
Tim, how much impact do you think it had that the complainant had connections, friends within the law enforcement community? So maybe you can't be just anybody coming and filling out a form.
To be determined, Michael. To be determined. We have some other investigations to work on, and we're going to leave no stone unturned, and we're going to find out exactly how and why this happened, who's responsible, and we're not stopping here. The things that happened to Kelsey, we have, with respect to her home being broken into, we've reported that to the FBI, and I've had it with Essex County, and there are other avenues to pursue, and we're pursuing them. And we're in touch with the FBI on all sorts of federal crimes that were committed, and we're in the process of dealing with it there. That's one example of
what he's talking about here is the fact that Justin, I'm a liar, stole her laptop, accessed, and this is known because the idiot, the pothead, took the laptop to his mother, didn't use a VPN, so it is clear how it accessed the outside world. He didn't, to my knowledge, he didn't even try to erase the history or anything. So according to the defense, he accessed her social media, he accessed her medical papers, and he accessed her bank accounts and allegedly stole from her. That is a federal crime. Now, is it big enough for the FBI to bother? Maybe. Thanks to the large amount of people covering this case, and the amount of people have been following this case from the get-go. Yeah, FBI sometimes do this stuff for PR. But usually, FBI, it has to be in the millions for them to bother. But who knows? They are already looking into a lot of stuff happening in Massachusetts, so why not this?
other avenues that we're taking here. We're not sitting here at Essex County's beck and call. We know where to go, and we know who to talk to, and we are doing that. Anybody else?
Great.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Half Irish. Now that she won this battle, can she go after Justin now, or is her focus on custody? I would say both. A good defense is a good offense. I don't know their plans. They have their strategy. But I would assume, because a lot of things will probably get released, because if they sue Justin personally for everything he did, there will be discovery, there will be leaks, and anybody who is near Justin now, like the bitch in Kelsey's bridal party, the bitches in Kelsey's bridal party who decided to turn against her, whatever you spoke to Justin about will be in that discovery. Isn't that sweet? That your plans with Justin, if there are any, I assume there are, will be revealed. All of it. All right, let's see if... Photos. Hi, Kyrie. Hell hath no fury. Yeah.
Good luck, Kelsey. We wish you the best. See you next month at Family Court.
Oh, somebody walked past and said, "See you next month at Family Court." Now, Family Court are rarely, if I don't think they are streamed, but it will be interesting to see if there will be a transcript from it. If it is, I will do my best to get a hold of it. I will do my best to have a hold of it. Let's see.
I think Maureen is very
Yes.
I wonder if the cops made a statement.
No, I'm on. Yeah, I got it.
You guys.
To celebrate.
Time to celebrate.
All right. I'm trying to find if the prosecution or the North Andover let's see here if I can't see anything on the get-go. No, I can't find any comments yet from the prosecution or from the cops involved. All right, folks, that was what they had to say after the verdict. And I feel great. I feel positive. But now, as I said in the live stream, in the prior live stream, it will be an uphill battle for Kelsey and her team because cops are kind of known for retaliation. And the people who backed Noonan and Justin will keep doing that. I would not be surprised if they try to damage her chances to get her kid back. I would not be surprised. But we will find out eventually. But that's for another day. Today we are happy for Kelsey. Happy for Kelsey. Thank you, LMP, who said, there were times when someone said Houston and Noonan, but I heard Hugin and Moonin, and I think of you. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And folks, thank you. Thank you for joining me here. Thank you for joining in this trial coverage. Tomorrow, update on the Delphi case. Richard Allen's appeal brief was submitted some time ago, and now the state attorney has filed their reply. And it will be infuriating. It will be infuriating. The Courtney Clancy trial starts soon. And so does the Laura Owens trial. I hope they are spaced out so I don't have to choose. I hope they space out so I don't have to choose. Both of those trials will be an absolute fustercluck. But that is for another day. Today we celebrate Kelsey Fitzsimmons being acquitted of this ludicrous charge. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me in celebration. And folks, hug your family. Unless they're shit, then screw them and give your love to the people who deserve it. Have a good one. Bye-bye.